Hi, this is Steve from LZ23 Strength, where we exert ourselves, we elevate our health, and we evolve in mind and body. Today we're going to be starting part one of a three-part series dealing with weight loss. Our first part is going to be 10 reasons why it's hard to lose weight. Part two is going to deal with practical tips in diet and nutrition, as well as exercise that will help you to achieve your goal. And part three will deal with once you've lost the weight, then what? So that'll be an interesting one too. So look forward to that. But for today, we're going to start with 10 reasons why it's hard to lose weight. Now, right now, there's an obesity epidemic here in the United States and actually worldwide. This was declared by the World Health Organization back in 1997, and it's only escalated since then. By 2022, 1 in 8 people worldwide were living with obesity. This one I thought was very, very sad. By 2022, 160 million young people aged 5 to 19 were living with obesity. Just to put that into perspective, if you think of some of our football stadiums, maybe a college one might fit 100,000. Just think you fill up 100,000 seats with 5 to 19-year-olds, then you usher them out and bring in another group. You would do that 1,600 times. That's how many young people are dealing with that. So it's something, and that's 3 years ago, so I'm sure it's gotten even worse. So whether you're dealing with obesity or you just need to lose 5 or 10 pounds, 20 pounds, or whatever it is, hopefully this series will give you some hope. But it's going to take a lot of work and effort on our part, because if it was easy, there wouldn't be an epidemic and we wouldn't see numbers like we see. Now, for our discussion, there's a lot of biological factors, from our metabolism to hormonal changes to genetics, medical issues, all sorts of things that can greatly increase weight gain as well as making weight loss, preventing us from losing the weight that we want. So we're not going to deal with that scientific aspect, but we can even overcome those things. They might be hindrances, they might be big walls that we got to climb over, but we can do it. So we're going to talk about 10 practical things that are keeping most people from losing weight. And we'll have a few little tips on each one that hopefully help us to think of what we might be able to do. And then as we move forward in the next video, some extra good tips that'll help you reach your goal. So it's interesting, as we're getting started, what's the first thing that we have to deal with. It's interesting that so much money is spent on weight loss, and it's talked about as being something relatively easy. Just take this pill, get this piece of equipment, whatever it is, that it's easy, you can do it. And yet we see the numbers that we see. So it's not an easy thing, and I'm going to make that clear. We're going to talk about 10 reasons why, but it's going to take an enormous amount of effort and desire on our part. And that's what the first point is. With is your attitude, our attitude towards losing weight. What's our reason for wanting to do that? Is that we have a vacation coming up and we want to look good in our bathing suit on vacation? Maybe you have a wedding coming up, or you want to look good in a dress for a certain get-together. We need more powerful reasons than that if we're going to make permanent changes. And if it's going to be sustainable and long-lasting, our attitude definitely comes into play. Life happens, and again, starting right here from our first point, our attitude, depending on our attitude towards weight loss and our reasons for wanting to do it, we're going to face challenges. along the way to do it. So our attitude is critical. And especially nowadays, something that is a hindrance is a sedentary lifestyle. And that's going to lead us into our second reason why it's hard to lose weight. First is our attitude, second is our workouts. Depending on what your reason, again, you go back to your attitude. If it's not a powerful reason and you're not necessarily an exercise person, the workouts are going to be extra challenging. And one of the aspects is that you don't do it consistently. You've probably heard of yo-yo diets before. Well, some people have yo-yo workouts. They'll go gangbusters for a couple days or a couple weeks and then kind of fall off a cliff and might not see them for a while. So the roller coaster of how often you go, and even when you go, how much effort and intensity is put into it. Because if you're not really a workout person, you're going to be sore, you're going to be tired, and trying to squeeze that into a busy life, it's going to be challenging. And that's another reason why individuals do not lose weight, because their workouts aren't dialed in what they need to be. And again, I encourage you to come back for part 2, because we're going to talk about workouts, specifically what I believe are necessary steps to get to that point. There's all sorts of things, and it's kind of an experimental, because we're all unique. We've talked about this before in other episodes. We all have different genetics, we have different circumstances, we're all unique. So what works for one person might not work for another. It's not a cookie cutter approach for everybody. So even the US guidelines that they recommend for exercising, they have at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise or 75 minutes of vigorous intensity activity or aerobic activity per week. Well, in my opinion, I'm sorry, that is not nearly enough. And they are saying this is the minimum, but that works out to an hour and a half or an hour and 15 minutes, depending on which one you're thinking about. That's almost what I think you believe, what I believe that you need daily. And we'll get into that more in the second episode. So we've talked about our attitude. Second is a workout. The third thing that keeps most people from losing weight and reaching their goals is their actual diet. And I can sympathize and empathize in this area, because I've mentioned before in other videos, I'm a picky eater. So that makes it hard, and I love junk food as much as the next person. So it's definitely changing our eating habits is essential if we're going to lose weight, keep it off, and sustain that kind of lifestyle. One thing that could be helpful, we talked about journaling. Well, keeping a food journal to see, keeping track of what you're eating. I've mentioned it before, where you might think you're cutting calories, you're only getting so much calories, but if you really tracked it, you'd be shocked at how many calories you actually would be getting. And again, in part 2 of our video, we're going to talk about these things and what we can do specifically regarding your nutrition. One big thing that'll help is preparing ahead of time and preparing meals at home. If you're just trying to do it on the fly and eating out all the time, it's going to make it even harder to accomplish that. And something that we'll talk about in part 2 is dealing with portion sizes. You know, here in the United States, supersizing everything seems to be the order of the day. So we'll give that attention and talk about that. A basic, it's thought that 3,500 calories, if you burn 3,500 calories, you lose exactly 1 pound. Now there's a lot of factors that go into that or come into play, but it's a general idea. And if you try to cut 500 calories out of your diet each day in 1 week, that's 3,500 calories. And along with working out, technically might lose that pound. And depending on your metabolism, your age, and other circumstances, you might be able to accomplish a lot. And Actually, that's not bad. If you lost 1 pound a week, 52 pounds in a year. And again, you'll go through plateaus, but there might be times that you lose 2 or 3 pounds. So that's not terrible in 1 year. So it's something to keep in mind. The key is being patient, consistent, and prioritize that consistency is in all things, whether it's your diet or exercising. Those are vital if you're going to lose weight. Now, the next three tie in with our first three, but they're all kind of interrelated. So, our number fourth deals with your lifestyle. What are your habits and routines, and what are you willing to change and adapt to be able to reach the goal of losing weight? It's known that people spend an enormous amount of screen time, whether it's television watching, being on a computer or tablet, on our phone, people on Instagram. So a lot of time is involved there that could be used for prepping meals, for getting the proper amount of movement. Something that comes into play too is alcohol. Alcohol, it's could drastically affect whether you lose weight or not in a number of ways. It's many times people who drink make poor choices when it comes to food. So alcohol is an area that you might want to give attention to as well when you're looking at your lifestyle. And then what's in the pantry? Is it loaded with junk food? That's something to keep in mind. Our surroundings, our lifestyle and routines is definitely going to play a factor that keeps a lot of people from reaching that goal and losing weight. The fifth point ties in with that is your environment. You know, at work, a lot of times surrounded by temptation, whether people are bringing in donuts or junk food from home or having little get-togethers or parties with these kind of foods. There's vending machines that generally have unhealthy selections and choices in them. So our environment definitely is going to play a role in that. Something else that our environment, specifically at home, dealing with sleep. Many people that might not equate sleep with weight, but poor sleep can lead to weight gain. It's going to affect weight regulation, and it's going to make losing weight harder if we have a poor sleep routine. So again, that falls into our environment. So lifestyle, our environment. Number 6 goes along with these is our support system. We might be on our own and wanting to lose weight, but if we have a family, what about our spouse? Are they on board, or do they want to just eat whatever they're going to eat and you're going to have to adapt? If you have children, it definitely makes it more challenging if our support system might not be there when it comes to food. Maybe it's good for on the exercise part. If you have a friend that you can go to the gym with, go walking with. It would be nice if it was your spouse and kids to some degree, but you may have to go outside of that and try to find another partner to do some of these things with. And in the support system, again, we go back to their social pressure. There's social events. What do they frequently revolve around? Food, alcohol. Football season now, it's going to be huge. So what are you going to do? Got to have a game plan. Certainly need one when it comes to these areas. So whether it's the environment, your lifestyle, support system, these are things that keep people from losing weight and reaching their goal. Another one that has a major impact is mental health. If you're dealing with depression, past trauma, stress, a lot of people deal with emotions by using food as a comfort. You've heard of comfort foods? Well, people definitely use food as a comfort to deal with all the things emotionally emotional baggage they might have or problems that they're dealing with. Something else called cortisol comes into play. High stress levels increase the It's a hormone, cortisol, and that promotes fat storage, or can promote fat storage, and it increases appetite for unhealthy food. So if we're dealing with depression and high stress levels, there may be times where we might have to seek help in dealing with these things, because it will have a direct impact on what we eat and how much we eat. So number 7, mental health, it definitely comes into play. Number 8 is your goals. As I mentioned, this is going to be you've probably done it before, so I'm not telling you anything new. You probably tried to lose weight and saw how challenging it is, but it's easy to get discouraged and want to give up. So having impossible goals, it's not going to be very motivating if you fail sometimes or you slip up. So you got to set reasonable goals, especially when it comes to eating and to exercise, and focus on daily and weekly goals, smaller goals that you can try to stick to, that you're going to feel good about, and you're going to build momentum to keep this boat going in the right direction. So having good goals is important, but if we don't have good goals, it's definitely going to hinder losing weight. Closely linked with that is number 9, inflexible, being inflexible or not adaptable. Things are going to come up. You're going to get stuck in traffic on your way to the gym and miss your fitness class, or might have to do overtime at work for a week or two. How are you going to be able to manage your diet as well as getting your proper workouts in during that time? We have to be flexible and determined, because being inflexible, if we're stuck on certain things, and I am wired this way in many ways. I want things to just go just right. I want my routine to be a certain way, and order in life, and life doesn't cooperate that way. And frequently I'll get frustrated with different aspects of that. But if you're not flexible, things are going to happen, and it'll be easy to not lose the weight that we want to, or stick with a program. So being inflexible is definitely a hindrance in number 9. Number 10 goes along with it as well, having an unwillingness to fail. We're going to have setbacks, and if we're a perfectionist, it's going to be challenging. As I mentioned, life happens, and we're going to have things where bad days happen. We're going to be tempted and maybe eat something bad, but the key is never give up. We can't be unwilling to fail and kind of slip. It's not, the saying, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how many times you get up. So the race isn't over. We stay in the race. And I was thinking of this analogy, maybe when it comes to diet and exercise, break it down into a month. Maybe 15 days of the month you do good. Maybe 10 days are bad. And maybe 5 of them are just so-so. They're not awful, but they're not great. Well, the next month, try to set a goal where still have those 15 good days, but instead of 10 bad days, can the 10 bad days be so-so and only have 5 bad days? Then the third month, have 20 good days and 7 that are just okay, and only 3 bad. Trying to build progress and consistency, that's going to help us. So got to be willing to have those setbacks and realize that things are going to happen. Don't be a perfectionist, be a realist, and keep working at it. Don't give up. So those are the 10 reasons why it's hard to lose weight, and maybe some of them you can relate to more than others, but it is still possible. And that's why I'm making these videos, to try to show just little tips, even as we mentioned. But please come back and watch part 2, because there we're going to have more specifics when it comes to diet and to exercise. And again, what I feel that is possible, and what I think you can do. There's a million strategies out there, a million suggestions, but I feel I have some good insight from my own history, from studying, reading, watching a million different people involved in exercise and weight loss. So hopefully be able to help you out with that. So remember to exert yourself, to elevate your health, to evolve in mind and body. please smash the like button. Encourage you to subscribe. And I'm glad you came. Again, come back for part 2 because we're going to keep this rolling. And I will try my best to help you to reach your goals, whether it's 10 pounds or 50 pounds. You can do it, and we can do it together. Take care.